Hi and welcome to this Element video on snow budgeting. This is the second video in the series called Building a Snow Sales Budget. It's going to be the kickoff point of building your snow budget. If you haven't already watched the first video in the series, which is preparing for the budget, we'd recommend strongly that you start there first. You may find out after watching that video that you don't even want to go through the work of building a sales budget, or you at least will know what to have on hand to make the rest of this budgeting process easier. So if you haven't watched the first video, please do yourself a favor, watch that one. For those of you who've already seen it, let's get into our snow sales budget. Just a quick couple of tips before you get started on your sales budget. Coming up with the right sales forecast for snow is extremely difficult. Certainly just guessing the weather is hard enough. We can look at historical averages, but nobody actually knows what it's going to do this year. So your forecast is going to be based on an average, but you don't actually know what's going to happen. Not to say that forecasting snow isn't important, though. It is important. You've got to guess how much you're going to sell. And that's going to inform other decisions like how many people you need to hit those sales goals, and how many trucks and snow plows you need, and how much you're going to spend on salt, and how much overhead your snow estimates should be recovering. And if those things aren't at least reasonably accurate, well, then the rest of your guesses are going to be inaccurate as well. Being accurate as an average is important. Just make sure you do these couple things before you build your sales budget. Just make sure that you're building your budget based on an average number of weather events. So if last year you had a really light or a really heavy snow, make sure you adjust your numbers going into this year, so you're not depending on that kind of event happening again. If you can, look up how many events you've had over the past couple of years, what types of events you've had over the past couple of years, whether you've won or lost new contract revenue going into this year, or what your expectations for that is going into this year. And also don't forget about your capacity. We can sell as much snow as we want, but you got to make sure you've got the trucks and the staff to handle it. So also bear that in mind too. Do you have enough capacity to do the work you're forecasting? Once you've done a bit of this thought and planning, you're ready to jump into your sales budget. So let's pull up our Element budget and see where to go from here. Now we're again assuming that you're building a snow budget specific to snow and ice, that we're not including the rest of our company's numbers in this budget, just snow and ice financials. So what you're probably going to need to do is start from a new budget. Now, if you've already done a snow budget, then you could certainly open that budget and go down here and hit copy. And then you're starting that budget from at least a good starting point. But for many of you, this will be your first time building a snow budget. So you're going to want to go up here to the top and hit the new button. Now I'm going to be going through a snow budget that's already completed. And here's what my first page would look like. I've got a budget name here. I've made sure I've put snow in the name, and I put the season in here as well, so that next year and the year after we can differentiate those budgets from each other. Now over here in the work breakdown section, you're going to be able to put in your mix of work so that you can benchmark yourself against other snow and ice companies. Now, because this is only a snow and ice budget, I'm going to zero out all these other services and put 100% of my sales or revenue in this last department here, snow and ice. What we're saying here is all the numbers in this budget are going to be specific to snow and ice. That way you can benchmark all your numbers against other snow and ice contractors. Now we got to start with a sales budget. So we're going to go over here and click sales. Your job here is to forecast how much revenue you expect to earn from snow and ice in the years that you're forecasting. I've decided to break down my snow and ice revenue in 3 different sections, sort of just regular snow and ice services. This is what I would have done last year, and this is what I'm forecasting to do for this coming year. I've also isolated a line item called removals and relocates. And for me, this is extra services that occur on mostly a bill per service basis because of heavy events or no room to put the snow. So if we have a really heavy year in this, I can also see how much we beat the budget by that, maybe not necessarily depend on it in future years. And finally, I added another category called snow and ice subcontracted sales, and I put the forecast amount for snow and ice revenue that we're going to earn off subcontracted sales. This number should be the revenue you're going to earn from your subs. It's not what you're paying your subs. When you're building your sales budget, you're counting on sales or income. So all these numbers, but most especially this one, should be just the revenue you're going to earn from subcontracted sales. The reason I like to break this out from my regular sales, it just gives me an idea how much subcontracting I have to make sure I get ready to line up. And we can likely recover less overhead on subs than our own labor, so it just helps me make some other decisions better. Well, if you're building a snow budget for the first time, you're just going to go down here to the New button. You're going to click New, and then you're going to type in the description, what you did last year, what you're forecasting this year, and save. Now, some companies may keep this super simple and just put snow and ice sales, last year's sales, this year's forecast, and you're done. Other companies will want to break it down a little bit more like I've done here. Some companies break it down by residential and commercial. Other companies might break it down by type of service like snow and ice contracting, snow and ice walkways, snow and ice salting, or de-icing. Just make sure that by the end of this, up top here, you'll have, this should be what you sold last year. And this should be the total that you're hoping to sell this year in snow and ice. And these two totals are coming from the total of this column and the total of this column. If any of your things are way out of whack from last year, you can use the comments out here to explain why. Maybe you had a very light or a very heavy winter last year, and so you've significantly increased or decreased your forecast. You can enter those comments here. Once you've got that stuff in, go up top here and hit save so that you're locking in your changes. And then you're ready to watch the next video, which is building a field labor budget for snow and ice. If you had any questions while watching this video, email us at support@golmn.com. We're happy to get back to you with an answer. And if you're wondering more about what LMN is and how it can help your snow and ice business, check us out on the web at www.golmn.com.